Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now on the 5th of July 2023, and I thought I'd talk a little bit today about dodgy electricians. There is a bit more to it than that, and electricians you can take as a metaphor for other professions, several other professions who have been less than scrupulous over the last few years. But I'm just going to kind of make a comparison to electricians because that's what I am. You'll know that if you've been watching this channel for any length of time. And most electricians out there, despite these programs like Rogue Traders, are actually honest, hard-working people, and I certainly am myself. But if you were a rogue electrician, what you could do, and this will be an indicator on how you can spot a rogue. Well, if I was a rogue electrician, probably what I'd do is I'd offer maybe a free or very cheap inspection of your household electrics. I'd cast my professional eye over them, make sure everything was safe and sound for you, and suggest any upgrades and improvements or repairs as I see necessary. That would be kind of my sales spiel. So I would then sort of turn up at your house with one of these things. Now this is a tester that we electricians use every single day on every single job, and unlike some tests I can mention, these testers are actually very, very accurate and reliable. So that makes a change from what we've learned over the last 3 years, doesn't it? So this is called a multifunction test, and it actually does a tester, and it actually does quite a variety of different tests, which makes sure that any circuit in your house is fully operational and safe and doing what it should be doing, with no nasty surprises kind of in store for you. So one of the tests would involve putting the blue one, the neutral, onto the neutral wire, the brown one, which is the live one, or actually we call it line rather than live in the electrical trade. And the green one is your earth, which again we call a different name, circuit protective conductor, or CPC for short. And you connect them all up and you hit the orange button there and you get a reading, and if it's kind of less than a certain reading, or more than a certain reading in some of the tests, you've got a healthy circuit. But if I was a bit of a rogue, I might, well, first of all, I might alter some of the parameters so that and say, oh, look at that figure there, that is well out of range, that is very dodgy, even if in reality it was perfectly fine. And then also, if I was a rogue, I might embellish this a little bit. I might put a couple of flashing lights, red flashing lights on the top there, and maybe a scary sounding little alarm as well. So when I hit that orange button there, that all of that lot goes off and looks very, very scary to you, the customer. And then that'd all be accompanied by a lot of tutting and shaking my head and sucking my tongue, sucking in, sharp intake of breath, I think it's called, and a lot of muttering, and by the end of this pantomime you would be thinking, oh blimey, this isn't going to be good news, this isn't going to be good news at all. And then when I sort of give you my verdict, I'd say, yeah, these readings, oh yeah, they're dodgy, they aren't good news at all. You've got this problem here, your consumer unit, your main electrical box, that's very old hat, the wiring is short, you've got all kinds of problems here, you've got overloads going on there, which is potentially a fire risk. You could end up with your whole house burning down. And yeah, you've got a lot of problems here, I'm afraid. And by this time, you may be very, very frightened, and you might be sort of thinking, oh, Tim, what can I do? What do you suggest I do? And then, of course, I turn around with your solution, don't I? And I say, yeah, you're going to be looking at a new rewire, I'm afraid, with improvements here and improvements there, new electrical box, consumer unit, and all of the rest of it. Or, how much is that going to cost me? Oh, 10 grand. Oh, blimey, I wasn't expecting this sort of expense. Well, if you want to be safe, you're going to have to do it, I'm afraid. And that would be a very unethical way of selling, wouldn't it, if I was a rogue electrician? Well, what I've demonstrated there is a classic case of problem, reaction, solution, or the Hegelian dialectic, as it's sometimes known as. Now, all of this, what I've just said and what I'm about to say, was brought on or inspired by a video that Nigel Watson did, I think yesterday or maybe the day before now, where he was talking about this. I'll leave a link to his video in the description box below, but he talks about problem, reaction, solution, which I think is what the video is called, and he explains it a lot better than I can. But it is a classic way of getting people to do what you want to do, to take up the solution that you want them to take up. Because, of course, I'd be going into that property if I was a rogue with the intention of giving them the solution that I want to give them, which is a full rewire costing an exorbitant amount of money, so that I can go and make my roguish money and scarper off to the Maldives or something to escape their wrath when they discover what I've been up to in time. So basically, I highlight a non-existent problem, because with some fancy trickery that I've just explained, and then their reaction is, oh my goodness, I've got totally unsafe electrics. What can you do? And then I step in with that solution that I want to give them. And this is just what keeps happening, isn't it? With the powers that shouldn't be in the government. How many times over the last 3 years have we seen bizarre things happening, weird things happening, things that weren't a problem, which all of a sudden are a problem, and then these problems are ramped up until the masses are crying out for some kind of solution, and then, oh, lo and behold, the solution's been there all of the time, and in they step with what they wanted to do in the first place all along. So it's, as Nigel Watson was saying, it's a very common tactic of theirs. And one thing I'd add to it is, one way they kind of sell you on this sort of Hegelian dialectic is fear. They build up fear in you, and then you're begging for a solution. But the other emotion I think they work on as well is annoyance. So they might create something that's extremely annoying, or a series of things which are extremely annoying, until you again are begging for a solution for it. One thing I can see them doing with that kind of thing is digital identity. We all know how the powers that shouldn't be are desperate to bring in their digital identity. And one way they could do it is just to make things extremely annoying to do. And you only have to go onto the internet, don't you? And it's quite an annoying experience, especially if you're trying to buy stuff. you've got to go into the site and fill out the forms. Maybe you have to sort of put in the password. Oh no, I haven't remembered that correctly. So you then got to go through the rigmarole of changing the password. And then you've got those stupid catch par things, where you get a series of photos and you've got to choose which photos have got the motorbikes in or something, and you have to do all of that, and sometimes that doesn't work and you've got to do that again. And then when you go to pay, you have got that thing, the payment doesn't just go through automatically. You've got that thing where the bank wants you to put in a verification code. So they say, oh, check your emails, or text thing, and put in the code number to verify. So you've got to do that as well, and it's all very annoying. And that's just in one little sphere, online buying. But you could sort of have all sorts of things where just to get a doctor's appointment, you've got to sort of maybe go down there and turn up with sort of driver's license or something, and 3 types of utility bill and all of this just to get anything. And they'll make it very, very annoying for us, and then they'll turn around and go, oh, you know what, if you just had our digital ID, you wouldn't have to have any of this. All you'd have to do is just show your digital ID, and you don't have to bother with any passwords, any catch par things, any verification codes, anything, any passports or driving licenses or anything like that. All you've got to do is just turn up with that, and we'll make it very convenient for you. In time, we'll have it as a little implant, maybe in your right hand, or where else could you put it on the body? Oh yeah, the forehead maybe. And all we've got to do is, if you're in a physical location, we'll just sort of scan you with a scanner gun thing, or if you're online, all you've got to do is just look at the camera on your phone or sort of laptop, and that'll scan your digital ID and you'll be good to go. So annoyance is another thing I think they'll work on. But going back to Nigel Watson's video, he was saying it's very easy to spot this problem, reaction, solution sort of thing. And that is, because they're doing it all the time, absolutely all the time. They haven't got much imagination. They don't vary the tactic very much. So all you've got to do is, if you see an instance where a problem, a so-called problem, has come out of nowhere just in the last sort of year or two, or just the last few years, and then the kind of mainstream media are whipping up a storm of either fear or frustration, and all of a sudden the government are saying, we might have a solution after all. Well, just be on the lookout for that, and don't take things at face value, but sort of just think, hang on a minute, have they had this solution ready and waiting for us all along? Where has this problem come from? Is it a real problem, or is it something again that's been whipped up by the government or agent provocateurs of the government, and that kind of thing? And just start asking questions. Really, that's what we've got to do, I think. Just instead of just taking all of these things at face value, oh dear, there's a problem, oh, we need a solution. Try and get out of that frame of mind and just think, oh, hang on a minute, maybe we need to look into this a bit further. Is this really a problem? Is it something that's being manufactured by the government? And I think this is all part of the Great Awakening. More and more people are waking up to this. And Nigel, again, he kind of had a bit of a call for action in his video. He was saying, if you can sort of just pass on a bit of information about the problem, reaction, solution thing, just to get a few more people aware of it, aware of this tactic, perhaps we can not get fooled again, to quote a very old song by The Who. So I'm doing my part, so hopefully this video is going to raise a bit more awareness into the Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution, and just be on the lookout for it and don't get fooled by it. So with that little bit of advice, I suppose you could call it, I'll leave it for today. Back soon. Tim from Fair Play Now. Thanks for watching.